Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Ground and Pound podcast, the show where, as always, we're hitting you with them elbows of knowledge. And we're here today to talk about the BMF title fight between Dustin Poirier, the Diamond, taking on Max Holloway. Blessed Max Holloway. And somebody else that's blessed is my co-host, Carlos. What's happening, Carlos?
Absolutely nothing, brother.
Now, I got to pass this one over to you, Carlos. I know that these are two guys that you've watched for a long time and two fan favorites. How do you see this fight playing out? Who do you think is going to be the baddest mother effer on the night?
Both guys are animals. I'm a fan of both. But I've watched them, and so have you, and millions of people watch them grow right in front of your eyes, become like the best fighters in the world today, and watch their skills develop. Everything. It's been beautiful, and they're great people too. So, for anybody that loses in this one, I'm going to feel bad. But I feel the edge goes to Poirier, and this is my only reason why is Poirier loves to put the pressure on early, okay? Because Max is going to get in his face. And when you get in Poirier's face, he's going to come at you hard and he's going to try to hurt you. And that's the success he had in that second fight was he hurt him early and he hurt him often. And it made Holloway kind of back away to always have to like regroup just a little bit. And that's what I think is possibly going to happen because there's no backing up for Holloway. He wants to come forward. Poirier is going to hurt him. He has done it in the past. And he's going to sting him a couple times, and that's going to make him think. And when Max has to think before he comes in, that's where the problems start. The other thing that gets me is we've seen him fight Ilia Topuria recently, and he ended up getting knocked out in, I think, round 3. And he had success in round 2, and he had some success in round 1 as well. And he had success all the way up until that happened. And one of the things that happens that's very interesting is bouncing up and down in weight. And when you take the time, like when he fought Poirier the second time, he took that on like a short notice fight. I think it was like a month or like 3 weeks, something like that. And he was just heavy and took the fight. You know what I mean? He didn't have to cut the extra weight. But when he fought Gaethje, he took the time to put the weight on the right way. He's an older guy. Took in all the right calories, lifted those weights, did all the plyometrics, had everything that he needed, all the right protein, the right everything, probably from the PI, and got his body correct. And you saw it translated. He hit harder, 55. He had the same volume. He had good movement, and it was a one-sided affair against Gaethje. But then he got his bell rung against Topuria, and I've seen it happen in the past. And when guys go up and down in between weight classes, especially after they do it the right way and they move up, when they go back down, it's always a disaster. Like in boxing, Chris Bird, talented boxer, great defensively, good head movement, always had a high guard too, winning close. Could take a shot at heavyweight, even though he wasn't the biggest heavyweight. Moves back down to light heavyweight, gets knocked out second round, takes another fight, gets knocked out in the second round of that fight. Then he wants to move back up and he gets knocked out again. So there's something about that up and down weight movement when you're putting on muscle and dropping water, and now you got to lose muscle and the bone density is actually grown. You're changing yourself. You're changing your body, and it's going to take its toll on you. And I've also seen that with Roy Jones, one of the best boxers ever. Like, he moves up in weight, fights heavyweight, goes back down, gets knocked out twice. And his chin has never been the same. And that's what kind of worries me about Max Holloway. Is that going to happen? I'm hoping not. But that's one of the other reasons that I'm leaning more towards Poirier.
Yeah, the bout's scheduled for 155, so you've got to think, even if, let's say Holloway wins or Holloway loses, if he does go back to 145, I do worry about that as well. But you could also make the same argument a little bit in some cases that with Poirier, thinking about retirement, we've seen that not end well with a lot of fighters as well. And that's actually why I'm going to pick Holloway. It's a little bit of dissension here from me and you is obviously we've seen Dustin win this fight against Max Holloway twice now. So obviously this being the trilogy, Dustin winning the first two, once by armbar earlier on in both of these guys' career, and then a unanimous decision in the second fight. And I just question the fact that when a fighter openly says, I want one more and then I'm done, I want to retire. And obviously they've put this fight together. Max obviously wants to take it because he wants to get his revenge. He wants to get one back on Dustin for beating him twice. Dustin obviously respects Holloway, obviously knows that he's a legend. Obviously he's got the BMF belt, so it's a big fight. He can happily retire on that. I just sometimes wonder when one guy's fought, or at least mentally is out of the door, I just question whether his head's at. And obviously a guy that he's beaten twice already in his mind. Now, I'm not saying he's going to come in and underestimate Max, but one of the things that I've noticed him fighting, and I don't know if Carlos is going to agree with this or not, and obviously I'll get his take in a minute, is sometimes when a guy is he's like, hey, I lost to this guy twice. He's got that vengeance. He wants that revenge in his mind to be able to take that guy out that beat him twice. He wants to revenge that loss. When you've beaten a guy already, it's very easy to be like, well, I beat this guy once, or I beat him twice. Will that happen with Dustin? I don't know. He is a professional. The guy, as Carlos said earlier, he's come a long way. We've seen him grow, obviously, as a person. And Carlos and I were just saying before off the camera, Carlos made a great point, and he said, which I'm actually going to steal right now, as he was saying about, you could see from the first fight with Conor to the second fight with Conor how much he had matured, just even dealing with Conor's trash talk, which I thought was a great point. So I will give Carlos credit for that. So obviously both of these guys, obviously I don't expect them to necessarily underestimate either guy, but I do necessarily like that for Holloway, that he might want to get this one back and also keep his BMF belt, which obviously his viral knockout of Justin Gaethje, he wants to keep that streak alive and keep that belt. Now, when we talk about sort of X's and O's and how I see this fight going, I give the power edge to Poirier, which was the same in what I saw in the second fight. I think the volume of Max could give Poirier a problem. I think the kicking edge goes to Poirier. I think the grappling goes to Poirier. I just question the fact that I think that the mentality of Max, I think he comes in with a great game plan. I think that when I saw in the second fight was that whoever was going forward, generally speaking, was winning. Now, like Carlos said, Dustin is very, very good, especially early. If you pressure him, he will make you pay. He clipped Max early in that fight. Max was able to clip him, but I do honestly believe that over the course of 5 rounds, Max is going to come up with a good game plan, whether that's implementing more kicks, whether that's just implementing a lot more straighter shots to counteract the hooks of Poirier, maybe go to the body to try and slow him down a little bit. I definitely think that Max is live here. It's funny as well because when I looked at the odds for this one, this is pretty much a pick'em. So even Vegas sees this as a very close matchup, even though Poirier has won the first 2 fights. I just question where Dustin's head is at. He doesn't necessarily need to win this one to retire as a legend in the sport. And I think Max will have that vengeance to want to get this one back. Carlos, what do you think about the mentality coming into this fight for Poirier?
I think Poirier is not too worried about, having that one foot out the door just yet. I think he knows what he has to do to get this done, and to have an elite like opponent in Max Holloway, that's something that he's gonna be ready in the gym, prepared for. And the other thing you gotta understand is like he's not really old. You know what I mean? So he's got the drive still. He could train a couple times a day hard if he wants to. He's still there. And just like Max, I think they're only about a year and age difference. So, like, I think that what you got in Poirier is whether he's, I don't know what he is, 34, 35, somewhere around there.
Max is 32. Dustin's 35.
35. I'm like, whether he's 35 or 60, if you put Dustin in a cage, he's going to want to do some damage. Whether he could do the damage is, that's here nor there. But it's the fact that when he gets in the cage, like he's ready to fight, because that's just the way he's been his whole life. So I'm like, he's fine. That's just personally, I think he's going to be okay. I think mentally he's ready, he's prepared, he's getting ready, he's good. And I think Max is that way. The only thing that gets me is just the physical changes of Max Holloway. And did he put on an incredible amount of muscle? No, he didn't. But just that little bit of change in muscle and weightlifting and changing your bone density slightly, those are the things that scare me, because then you go down in weight. Now you're coming back up, and it's like, hopefully the chin's the same. I love Max. I want to see him do well. Poirier, I think he's a dog no matter what. He's ready to come to war. Whether he wins or loses, I think he's going to be happy with his performance.
Just want to quick correct that. I knew it was a 3-year age gap. It's actually 33 on the side of Max Holloway and 36 on the side of Dustin Poirier. But I knew there was a three-year age gap there. And one thing I just wanted to add as well is if you look at Max's level of opponent and who he's lost to, even if you go back quite some time now in his career, he's the names that stand out. Lost to Ilia Topuria, no shame in that loss. Lost to Volkanovski in the 2 losses that he had fighting for the belt there in that division. And ultimately, he's gone on and he's beaten everybody else. So one thing I will say is he's still very, very competitive at the top of the division. I just question, and this is not a knock on Justin Gaethje by any means, I just question whether we have right now the best Dustin Poirier. I don't think so. Whereas we could make a case outside of those losses to those top level guys that we still might have. If Max at fighting against, I don't know, the first or the second time he fought Volkanovski is the 10 out of 10 best Max, I still think we have an 8 or a 9 Max here right now out of 10. Whereas I don't necessarily know that we have the best or even a 7 or 8 Dustin Poirier, and that's not a disrespect. The man is considering retirement, 36 years old, so obviously he doesn't necessarily think that he's necessarily at his best or at his prime. But I do love both guys. I think both guys are awesome. But I will say, I do think that Max, with that revenge angle that I was talking about, tries to get one back here. And I just think out of the two, if you look at the resume currently, obviously Dustin did lose to Poirier. He did have that head kick knockout to Justin Gaethje, which could happen to anybody. But obviously we saw Max beat Justin beat Pillar to post. He was able to beat him pretty much all 5 rounds before he was able to get that knockout in the last, buzzer beater knockout against in the last few seconds. So, again, great fight. And one thing I want to wrap things up, wanted to ask Carlos before I do wrap things up is, what do you think of the BMF belt, Carlos? What's your take on the BMF belt overall? Do you like the BMF belt? Do you think it's corny? What are your thoughts on
that? What I think is corny is that for a pay-per-view, you need a title fight to be your main event. You know what I mean? I think that there are tons of fights, tons of matchups that could headline a pay-per-view that don't have to have anything to do with a title. As a matter of fact, I think a lot of the title fights can be co-main events when it comes to that. And then your main event just be 2 dogs like these 2 guys going at it, because this is what the fans want to see. It's happened plenty of times where that fight stole the show from the main event. If you want to make up a belt, call it the baddest motherfucker and give it to one of them at the end, go ahead. That's fine. Make up another one while you're at it. I'm cool with that. Let's just get the best fights out there that people want to see.
I noticed that this whole belt came along, and this is why I brought it up, when the whole WWE kind of merger, it kind of fell into that sort of time frame. And I was just thinking to myself, like when I saw it, I was like, to me, it's kind of corny. I don't really necessarily like it. I don't think you need to give either of these guys the BMF belt to know that either of these guys are the baddest mother effers in the sport. I don't necessarily think that, Jorge Masvidal, for example, when he had the belt and he was fighting Nate Diaz, I didn't look at that fight and think like, oh, we need a belt for this fight to be cool. You know what I mean? So the fact that they made up a belt for it, to me, was kind of corny. They got The Rock to bring it out. Not a big fan of the belt. If this fight was on a pay-per-view, like Carlos said, it was the main event or on the main card, I'd love the fight either way. I don't need the belt to tell me I'm going to love this fight. But not a big fan of the belt either myself. But the UFC does what it wants. It's his business. It's their business. And let us know in the comments section if you like the BMF belt. Let us know. Who do you have in this matchup as well? Do you have Dustin the Diamond Poirier or Max Blessed Holloway? And before we wrap things up, hit that like and subscribe button for your boys here on the Ground and Pound podcast. I'm going to pass this one to you, Carlos. Do you got anything you want to say to the people before we wrap things up?
Just want to say, let us know what you think in the comment section. Like my boy said, don't forget to like and subscribe. And that's all I got.
Yep. We'll catch you in the next one. Peace.